An advanced aspect of our hedonometer is what we call the word lens. So let's go back to how we construct this hedonometer. We have scores for 10,000 words in 10 languages, 10,000 very commonly used words. And people were asked to rate them between, on this scale, 1 to 9. So 1 means very negative, very sad, that the word makes you feel sad. 5 is neutral, and 9 is the word makes you feel very happy. And so there's a spectrum. So words that end up being neutral, they have their own spectrum, and at one end of that, you have words like the and of and in English, for example, that are simply just neutral words that everyone agrees on. And then we have words that people don't agree on, that for whatever reason, there's a diversity of opinion. So there are profanities, for example. There are ideas of how to run large populations. So words like capitalism and socialism get sort of a varied opinion attached to them. And there are vices such as cigarettes and so on. So there are words in here, and there are many more, of course, but there are words in here that fit that kind of high variance in their people's responses. So there's good reason to exclude those words when we evaluate a text. And when we go to evaluate a text, we simply go through and we find the words for which we have individual happiness scores. We count up their appearances, and then we get an overall average score for the text. So the default for us is typically to exclude words that had a score between 4 and 6. So this is 4 you can think of as being somewhat sad, and 6 is somewhat positive. So there are a lot of words in this range. We get rid of those. We end up with a decent looking score. Here we have Vermont compared to the rest of the US. You can see that Vermont swears a lot less. There are all these, this is in the last 30 days, so really kind of over September. There are a lot of good, happy, positive things in here that relate to Vermont. We could change the lens, and so we have a few little switches here. So wide means we're going to exclude even words that are somewhat negative and somewhat positive. We'll exclude those as well. So now we're really just getting these tails here. So these are really all very positive words, very negative words, and you can look through this list and see that's true. So great and beautiful, weekend, life, coffee, they're all being used more. And there are going to be some swear words in here that are being used less by people in Vermont. These are negative words that Vermonters are using more. So lost and sick. So sick is complicated, but missing and lost, suicide, unhappy, and suicide's likely to be connected to a major event. So lots of negativity here, but the overall score is such that Vermont is more positive. So you can then also do a couple of things. You can choose your own range as you wish. So you have to wait for it to figure out what's going on. So we'll just take very, very positive and very, very negative words and see how that works. It's so strong now that Vermont is ranked 20, so it's become a bit complicated. We've thrown away a little too much. But it's pretty robust. It's going to be very robust in this intermediate range. You can also slide this around if you wanted to. That's also possible. But generally speaking, things work pretty well with this default. There are just some cases where you'd like to be able to change the lens. It's very similar to changing similar to changing the lens on a physical instrument like a microscope or a telescope. Or you can imagine changing the color on a filter for light as well. All right, so that's the lens. It is a bit of an advanced thing. Most of the time you probably won't want to touch it, but it's sitting there as an extra option.